to an amazing. So it's kind of fun to see what will actually work as a vacation rental.
That's great.
Wonderful. Well, we are at 9:32. Our attendance is still growing. But Linda, I want to honor your time. So if you would like to go ahead and get started.
Okay, perfect. Just so my schedule matches your schedule, I'm going to talk about 35, 40 minutes or so, 45
Perfect.
max, and then open it up for questions.
Perfect.
Does that sound good? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, good deal. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Linda McKissack. I've been with Keller Williams probably, let's see, 20 plus years. But kind of back before that, I'll share with you a little bit about our journey and how did we ever become people who are passionate about helping other people understand wealth and profit share and investing in real estate or anything that creates wealth that provides freedom. I always say, and kind of like COVID, I think COVID will teach a lot of us that a lot of times gradually and suddenlies in our life are what wake us up. We don't wake up until the suddenly, when we should be waking up for the gradually. But we in the late 80s, we had a gradually and suddenly happen in our life. I always like to say I was in my middle 20s and I didn't even know what the word economy meant, much less whether it was a good one or a bad one. I had never gone to college. I'd actually just gone back to college to try to figure out how do you make more than minimum wage, because honestly, nobody in my family had ever gone to college, and college just wasn't something that was even on my radar. And so I very quickly realized that, man, my skills are going to get me about minimum wage if I don't figure out who I am and what I can do. And so I started going to Texas Women's University in my area and just trying to say, well, who am I? What skills do I have? What industry might I like? And about in the middle of that, my husband, who was in the restaurant and nightclub business, kind of started acting weird. He started stressing and staying up late and didn't want to go to bed. And what I would eventually find out is that he didn't want to go to bed at night because he said, if I go to bed too soon, morning comes. And when morning comes, bankers call. And he would come clean with me and make me understand that the reason bankers were calling is because we actually sold a business for $600,000 less than we owed against it. And the reason we had to do that is because Texas economy was built on savings and loans, real estate, and the oil and gas industry, and they all crashed. And because of that, it's like somebody had turned off a funnel. Our restaurants and nightclubs that were doing well just all of a sudden weren't doing well. And so we had gone to Dallas very shortly before that to try to make it big. We'd done a mini Dave and Buster type restaurant and nightclub, and literally was not working. And so my husband sold it to a chain for $600,000 less than what we owed. And I always say, the good thing about not knowing what the word economy means is you don't really understand how much $600,000 really is either. But he said to me, I need you to go to work and help me figure out how to get this money paid back. And I said, well, that's great. And because I was overwhelmed, I always like to say, I've been married 39 years. I don't wake up every day and say, honey, what do you think I should do? I just do what the heck I think I should do. But I was overwhelmed. I didn't know how to even respond to that. And so because of that, I think I was left with no other choice but to say, Jimmy, I'm a hard worker, but I'm in the middle of trying to figure out who I am and what I can even do. How in the world am I going to make the kind of money we need to make to help you with that? And he looked at me and he said, a mentor of mine told me a long time ago, if you want to make a lot of money, Jimmy, the way to do it is real estate. And I laughed today because I have since learned that man was actually a developer and a builder. He was not telling my husband to find a wife someday, get her to sell houses. You guys will be rich. He was saying to Jimmy, buy real estate, invest in real estate, develop real estate. And I'm glad today that he actually got the story wrong, because to be honest with you, when I got into real estate, not in the beginning, because I only made $3,000 gross my first year, Jimmy said, Linda, this is not good. I'm paying 15 for you to make 3. This math is not getting us out of the hole. But back then you have to realize there was no Keller Williams. There was no training. Literally, you were lucky if you got a week's worth of training before you started real estate. It was really hard to make it. And I hadn't totally figured out how to make it yet, but I knew real estate was going to be the right choice for me because nobody was going to tell me how much I was worth. I got to decide. And I also realized by this point that freedom was important to me. I always like to say I had one job after the age of 18 that a friend of mine got me at a place called GTE, which is General Telephone. And you went in at 8 and you got off at 5. And so I always like to say I hated that job. I felt like I was in a cage. And I say I got out of that job and got into real estate where you go in way before 8 and you get off way after 5. But the beautiful thing about it is I got to decide how much money. And because we needed a lot of money, I needed some kind of opportunity that was going to not have a limit on how much I made. And so I did figure out eventually how to sell real estate. Someone bought me a ticket to a seminar and I started putting the pieces together. But in the back of our minds, even though we started to make money and we were able to start paying back that $600,000 worth of debt, the pain of going through that was so impactful on us that it made us be more aware that your money could just go away overnight, that no way you made income was safe. And so because of that, we started reading books like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, The Millionaire Next Door, The Wealthy Barber. And we started to realize that there were a group of people in the world that when the economy crashes or life happens, they don't get affected the same way. And so Jimmy and I decided while we were $600,000 in debt that we were going to figure out how to be those people. And the most impactful book that we read was a book by Robert Kiyosaki. It's not his first book, it's his second book, and it's called Cash Flow Quadrant. And in there, it explains that you either get your money from the left side of the quadrant, which is you're an employee or you're self-employed, or you get your money from the right side of the quadrant where you're a business owner or an investor. And by the way, you can become a millionaire on either side if you apply the right principles. But we knew that at that time, 100% of our money was coming from the S quadrant as a self-employed realtor. Because by this time, Jimmy has realized the nightclubs aren't coming back. He needs to join me. And so we begin to say, okay, what are the ways you build wealth? How do you get money from that right side of the quadrant? And I don't know about you guys, but if there's a million ways to do something, I'm going to freeze and not do any of them. But when we read his book, it was very clear there's only 3 ways to build wealth. You can do it through the stock market, you can do it through real estate investing, or you can do it through owning businesses. Well, to be honest with you, we had been so burned by him owning the businesses that was the last thing we wanted to do was go out and start another restaurant. So we realized that was not going to be an option right away. And we said, well, we don't really understand stocks. And a lot of people in Texas lost everything they had because they were speculators, meaning they invested in stuff that they didn't have a lot of knowledge about. And so we decided that if we decided to pick stock, we were picking something that was going to be risky for us because we weren't willing to learn about it. And we didn't want to learn about it. So we said, well, stocks are off the table. Maybe since I'm in real estate, we should do real estate investing. And so we made a little business plan to make $250,000 gross coming in passively. And because Jimmy's 9 years older than me, we used his age and said, look, he was almost 40. By the time you're 60, let's have 250,000 coming in passively. And so we worked the numbers backwards on how many rental properties we would have to own. And it worked out to be 20. And so I believe everybody should start with the first thing you should start is what is your freedom number? And I'll give you a text in number in just a little bit for someone to put in the chat that you can actually download a little worksheet that we have to come up with your freedom number. But I think you start there because I believe the minute we make a number that we want to come in passively, our brain goes to work and starts finding the opportunities to do that. But without a plan and a number, I wasn't looking for those opportunities. They were there, but I wasn't able to see them. And so sure enough, right away, I go out on a listing appointment and the people say, look, this house has got foundation problems. We've already moved out. We don't want to fix it up. We want to sell it to an investor. And so I went home all excited to Jimmy and I said, I'm so excited. I got us our first property. And he looked at me and said, Linda, we have no money and we can't go to the bank. And so I went to sleep that night and I woke up the next morning and my builder's name was on my mind. His name was Lou Kraft. And I thought, I'm going to go to Lou and I'm going to ask Lou to do this with us because we're still climbing our way out of $600,000 in debt. No bank's going to give us any more money. So I went to Lou and said, Lou, I got a great opportunity. We can make about $15,000. Will you partner with me? And he said, yep. And so he became our partner. We wound up buying 3 properties total with him. The first one we flipped, made exactly 15. And literally within the same week that we closed on that property, an RTC property, which was the entities that had foreclosures back then, came up with a property that was within walking distance of the university. And I took Lou, I said, don't spend that money. Let's go look at this house. And I took Lou over there with me and he said, I think I can make this into a 4-plex. And so we laugh today because that one property pays us more free and clear than my husband's Social Security for working for 40 something years. So we wound up buying one more property and then we were off to the races because after that we got fortunate in the fact that banks would actually discount the notes. They would call us and say, look, if you'll give us 30 cents on a dollar, 40 cents on a dollar, we'll discount this note before our auditors come in. And so we'd scrape and scrape and scrape and live way below our means till we could get all that money paid back. And then once we did that, we wound up being able to buy properties ourselves. We now have over 100 and something properties. We have about 80 something single families, 28 vacation rentals, and we still very heavily invest in real estate. And you got to realize at the time, that was the most logical next door for us to walk through. And so for a lot of you, that might be the next logical door that you want to walk through. But we would eventually get to know about a company called Keller Williams. And when they came to our area, and to be honest with you, I wasn't interested in the profit share right away. I wouldn't even let anybody talk to me about it because I thought it was some kind of hokey thing. And then one day I had one of those really bad days in real estate. I always say, if you haven't had that yet, it's coming. And the way you'll know it's one of those days is it's the day that you literally go pull out your resume and you think, is there anything else in the world I can do besides this? I'm not loving this today. And so that's what happened to me. I had a horrible, horrible day in real estate. I went and pulled out the resume and I went, oh, I remember why I sell real estate. This resume gets me minimum wage. So I stuck it back in the drawer and I said, I'm going to keep selling houses, but I want somebody to tell me about this profit share thing because I want to set a plan and I want to try to build my profit share. And so that put me off to the races on understanding profit share. So I went to a gentleman and said, look, if I'm going to do this, I want to make $1 million at it, and I'm sure he was laughing because nobody had made, a whole lot of anything at that point. And I said, you tell me what I need to do that. And I said, if you need to go build a plan and tell me and figure it out and call me, that's fine. He said, no, I don't need to do that. I've already done it. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, you need to go get 20 people, help 20 people get 20 and have 5,000 total in your tree. I put that in my little Nokia phone. And every time it flipped up, I looked at it. And then about 8 months later, I'm in Gary Keller's top mastermind. And Gary says, I want every one of you to go and pick another business besides your real estate business and do a pro forma and bring it back to our mastermind group. And let's all figure out what would be some other multiple streams of income we could create. So by the time it gets to me, I'm in the very last seat. There's nothing left. There's mortgage is gone, title is gone, home inspection is gone, insurance is gone, everything is gone. And I have no idea what I'm going to pick. So Gary said to me, Linda, why don't you've been wanting to understand the profit share system. Why don't you treat profit share as if it was a standalone business? Go do a pro forma and next quarter, bring it back and present it to the mastermind group. And, of course, any idea sounds good 4 months out, right? And I very quickly said, sure, yeah, I'll do that. And then I realized I didn't know where profit share came from. I didn't know how you figure out what a capper was worth for you, a half a capper or a quarter. I didn't even know who gave you the money. And so it really was one of those eye-opening things to have to go away and put that pro forma together. And I always say it was such a convicting moment because I realized that this was such a huge opportunity and gift that I could either choose to participate in or I could just choose to ignore. And it was too big and too amazing for me to ignore it now that I knew. I always like to say, I always like what Oprah says, once you know something, you can't pretend you don't. And so that was really the game changer for me to start building our profit share. We'll make somewhere about a 1.4 million this year in KW's profit share. We've made 1.4 to 1.5 for the last probably 4 or 5 years. We've made 13 million total in Keller profit share. So I'm on a journey, and some of you that are on this call are probably on this journey with us to really become committed to profit share and the gift and the opportunity that we've been given. And so in a little bit, I'll share with you, for those of that are super interested, how do you join us in our profit share online course to really understand it and work it as a business and a plan. And I'll answer any questions. My goal for this call is to answer the specific questions you have about any of this stuff, because I want you to have enough clarity that no matter what you do from this call, you go do something. You make a plan, you start the journey, you buy your first rent house, you get committed to profit share, you do something. I always say, in the way you repay me for this time, because nobody's paying for me for this call. The way you repay me is you share with me down the road something you've used to change your own life and build your own wealth with the stuff that I'm sharing. That's how I get repaid for doing this, because I know that people are listening and they're taking action. So I'm going to kind of share with you some of the biggest objections that I see that people either don't build wealth at all or they don't build profit share at all, is they think it's either or. Either I have to build my real estate business or I have to build my wealth. And specifically with profit share, it's an and. And while I'm building my real estate business, I can be building my profit share. See, the one common thing that God gave all of us is 24 hours. He didn't give me 48 and you 24. He gave us all 24. And I don't know about you, but that's kind of comforting to me, because when I see people do some amazing things that I'd like to accomplish, I just got to remind myself, Linda, they only have 24 hours too. And so anything in the world that you want to do, all you got to do is find the people that are using their 24 and they're getting those kind of results. So the either or, I think, stops people because they want that immediate gratification, that immediate money, and understandable. You got to feed your family, right? You got to live. But I'm going to tell you, there is a way that you, tomorrow, whatever you have to do in this business, you could do it with another person and do it in the same amount of time and build your profit share and change their lives. Because our profit share program, we say all the time, we're building profit share and wealth while we're changing lives. And so my question to each of you would be, and put it in the chat if you would, how has Keller Williams changed your life? Just give me one thing that you really are grateful for about Keller Williams that's changed your life. And obviously someone introduced you to Keller Williams. And so I'm sure you're grateful for that person, but if you would put it in the chat, how did your life get changed by being with Keller Williams? And then my question to you would be is, well, who are we to decide that that's enough lives changed? I mean, why do we stop with us, right? Number two, biggest limiting belief and objection is people say I should have got here sooner. They think my profit share is because I got here sooner than they did. And Gary Keller believes that the number one profit share earner may not even be with our company. So I'm going to ask you, how are you going to feel? And I'm going to tell you a story in a minute about a young guy named Nick that's going to prove to you that you better not hold on to that belief, because I always say, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them, right? And so I'm going to show you that he's actually making more money than we did faster. And so I'll share Nick's story with you in a minute. And then number three, I'm not a recruiter. And I just say to that, hallelujah, me either. Because the truth is, we're not good enough to make a seller sell, a buyer buy, or an agent join. We are really only able to make people self-discover that whatever they're needing in their lives and in their business is better served at Keller Williams. And when they self-discover that, you won't have to recruit them. They'll knock your door down to come over. And I always like to tell the story that when I brought a lot of people to the beginning classes that Gary Keller was teaching, those people didn't come because of Keller Williams. Keller Williams was nothing. And they certainly didn't come because of Gary Keller, because nobody knew who he was. They came because I had built a relationship, and I'll share this formula with you in a minute. And I was valid to them, just like you'll be valid to people. And the way you get people to self-discover is stories that they can see themselves in. So if I get a person that thinks they're too old, I tell them Mo Anderson's story. If I get a person who thinks they're too broke, I tell them my story. So people can relate to stories that they can see themselves in. The other way you get someone to self-discover is they don't do it from us telling them and being all super hyped about it. They do it from great stories they can see themselves in, great questions that make them really think, and experientially. And experientially is like this. If you have an agent that you are in relationship with that you would love to come to Keller Williams, and you know that that person is big at giving back to their community, and they love contributing and giving back, don't tell them about Red Day, take them to Red Day, because experientially people move more when they've experienced it themselves than you trying to explain it or tell them to it. And we can't be so passionate about it that it makes them do it. None of us are good to make an agent join, a seller sell, or a buyer buy. Our job is to help them self-discover that we're the person to help them in whatever area we're trying to help them with. And then number 4, it's too late for me. And you can change any financial situation you're in a good short 5 years of solid focus. And I always say, look, you don't know how long you're going to be on this earth. We're going to do a really good job of living longer. What we're not going to do such a good job of is having enough money to live as long as we're going to live. And so go ahead and plan your life as if you're going to live to 150. And then that way you're not thinking the end is right around the corner. Because I hate it when, and I think this is because the average age of the realtor is 50 something years old, or 60 or whatever. And so people tend to say, well, it's too late for me. It's never too late. Right. And then I don't understand. I don't understand. And so here's the thing, you don't have to understand. Matter of fact, in all my years of building and recruiting, I don't think I've ever really had to explain profit share, because it's the number 7 reason why people ever join anyway. They get to Keller Williams and then they start asking questions about profit share. So you don't really have to understand, like you don't have to go do the pro forma I did on profit share, because people aren't going to ask you that kind of stuff. That's not what they're interested in. They're interested in whatever their value gap is at the moment. So here's the story of Nick. Nick is literally, if you've ever read The Rich Dad Poor Dad, he lived that story out in our home. His mother is an educator. His father is a big manager of a big company. And Nick, from an early age, my son met him at 3. Literally, I think he went on almost every vacation with us. He was at our house always. And Nick loved our life. He just did. And so he grew up, he got a degree in real estate from University of North Texas, but he very quickly realized, I don't love selling houses. Matter of fact, we call him Pokey in the house because he's very slow. We're all very fast and he's very slow. We're like, always hurry up, Nick, hurry up, Nick. But we like to say on the lazy side a little bit, but it works in his favor on this. And so Nick grew up and realized he didn't want to sell houses, but he loved what we talked about on the investing. And he loved what we talked about on the profit share. So Nick grew up, he's bought, I don't know, I think he might be at about 6 or 8 houses that he's bought in his early 30s, that he's bought already. And him and my son Press decided that they were going to put together a way to introduce new agents. And by the way, we teach this in the course for people that are interested in this piece of it. He wanted to do new people. And so they put a website together. They drive leads to that. And he's on a call about 3 to 5 people a day, depending on how busy it is. They schedule with him. And this is what Nick's done in his profit share. He's doubled his profit share. He's only been doing this about 3.5 years. He's doubled his profit share every single year. And this year he's on target for about 50,000. And he made, I think in the last month, he made like 7,000 in income and profit share in a month. So Nick is the debunker of I think you should have got here sooner, because Nick's only been working at this at about 3 or 3.5 years. And he is already doing amazing things. Our profit share was nowhere near that kind of money when we'd been with Keller Williams for that long. So this one is our profit share. And I always like to share this. A lot of people can get overwhelmed by something, when I say $1.5 million in profit share a year, but I'm the kind of person, I'm inspired by who does the most. What's the biggest amount anybody can do? And let me see if I can go for that. So for those of you that say that's overwhelming to me, I can't do that, then you've got Nick's story. And in our story, literally, it took me a good amount of years with KW to even let someone explain profit share to me. And then once I got it, I'm going to tell you, I just used the very same formula that I used to build my real estate practice to over 200 transactions a year. And it's a formula that if you were going to take me to Minnesota or anywhere to build anything, this is the formula I'd fall back on. And so it works like this. Whatever I'm going to build, and in this case, it's profit share, I had to decide, who do I want to be a hero to? Who do I love helping? Who do I get energy from? Who could I help all day long? I don't worry about what time it is. Have I eaten? Am I getting paid? I don't worry about any of those things because I'm enjoying it so much. It's energizing and motivating. And for Press and Nick, they like new agents. New agents suck the life out of me because I just want to hook a hose up from my head to theirs because I feel like there's so much they don't know. I don't enjoy that. I would not enjoy helping them as much as possible. So the first question you have to ask is, who are you already helping in the market center? What do you like to teach? What agents come to you for certain things? This is kind of the way you can kind of pick who you would pick. And no matter what, I always say you never pick more than 5 people because I want you to get this muscle working first, and then you can expand it if you want to. But by the way, I never have more than 10 to 12 people on my board at any time. And the reason is you can't go deep with a lot of people. And you don't need to go deep with a lot of people. We only have 30 something, I think 33 people in our front line, period. So we haven't, and I've been here 20 something years. I haven't needed to go deep with a lot of people. So the next part of the formula is validity. What is my validity? Because if people don't open the door to a relationship until you have validity, right? But here's the cool thing about validity. Everybody has it and nobody thinks they do. Nobody thinks they have validity, but you do. Your lessons you've been to, the classes you've been to, the books you've read, the successes you've had, and especially the failures you've had, those can all become your validity. The activities you need to do tomorrow that someone else in the real estate world needs to do can become your validity. Books that Keller Williams has written can become your validity. Courses that KW has written can become your validity. There's so many things once you understand validity that you can use to open the door and get someone to let you go deep with a relationship with them. Okay. And you want to always be increasing your validity too, right? Because it opens that many more doors. And then the next V is for value or value gap. And what that means is I've got to pick who I'm going to build a relationship with, use my validity to get in relationship with them. And very quickly as I can, I got to figure out what are some of their value gaps that I could wake up and help them with, just drop little things into their value gap and create this amazing thing called beholdenness or reciprocity. And Robert Cialdini in his book, Persuasion, talks about reciprocity, but we underestimate the power of beholdenness. And so I want you to think about it like this. When people give you things, your automatic response is to want to reciprocate. I want to give something back. So in this case, when I give little things to people and help them with their value gaps in ways that's just me giving, then what happens is they want to give me something back. And what they're going to give me back is when I ask these people to take a big step, like mega camp, family reunion, career visioning, shadow me while I'm prospecting, watch me do career visioning, anything that might add value to their value gaps, that's a big step. They will more than likely say yes when I've created enough beholdenness. And here's the cool thing. If I ask them and they don't say yes, I just go back to dropping little things into their value gap again. And here's the thing I know, I can't recruit someone, right? So I'm not attached to anything. If the worst thing, I always say my longest recruit took 12 years, although I've got a girl that I think is going to beat her. And I saw this girl on a cruise before COVID, and she came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, when are we going to get back together again?" And the cool thing is she is with a big competitor company in an area that I actually had owned a piece of that market center. And she tells everybody that she loves the McKissacks, that we're her mentors, and that we helped her on some stuff about some investment properties that they have. And so if all I ever get is that goodwill, I still win, right? You can't out. I have a really good friend named Joe Polish that says, I love his saying, life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. And I don't worry about what I'm going to get. I just know that even if I get goodwill, that's amazing. And she could be talking great things to me, to somebody who is thinking about joining my organization. So I'm okay if I don't ever get that lady to join, right? I can't be attached to those things. And that's where the hard one comes in, which is time. They decide when they see and self-discover that Keller Williams will help them get where they want to go quicker, or has the tools that they need to fill their value gap. I won't have to recruit them. They'll recruit themselves, but I don't know when that time is. And that's the hardest part. And I remember years ago, I reached out to Gary and I said, "Gosh, doesn't it drive you crazy when somebody you really know would benefit from being here just doesn't get it?" And he said, "Nope, it doesn't, because Linda, whether they get it this year or 10 years from now, I'm still going to be here." And I said, "You know what? Me too." Okay, I'm going to let go of how long it takes somebody. And that's kind of a freeing moment, because if you think you can make someone get it, that's when you're going to be holding on to the time. When I let go and realize it's not up to me, my only opportunity is to start the relationship, pour into their value gap, create the beholdenness, invite them to a big step where they can self-discover what Keller Williams really is. Then it's really fate, destiny, or whatever. That's really the rest. I can't be attached to that. And that really helped me a lot, because I'm the kind of person, I don't have patience, and I want it when I want it, and it's never on my timing. Okay, so here's something I want to point out to you, because I do a program called Strategic Coach, and I love learning and growing. And so about 8 years ago, I was looking for somebody, a great mind. I love Gary Keller. I always say I'll always be in front of Gary Keller. As long as he speaks and teaches, I'll be there. And Dan Sullivan is another person. As long as he speaks and teaches, I'll be there. And a few years ago, he put this thinking thing on the screen, and it just blew me away, because I realized that I had actually followed this formula to build a big life without even knowing what I was doing. And so I always love to share it, because I think most people tend to shy away from this instead of lean in and look for this opportunity. And so the first thing you have to do is say, I got to make big commitments. And the way you know you've made a big commitment is the minute you make it, you drop into this horrible place called courage. It's not fun. It's icky. You don't like it. And the difference between fear and courage is, fear is where you just wet your pants because of that commitment. And courage is where you just go ahead and keep the commitment with the wet pants, right? So it's just not a fun place. Confidence is warm and fuzzy, but we're not there yet. And so you've made a commitment that takes courage, because the reason it takes courage is you don't really have the capability to do it. When I set my $1 million goal with Keller Williams Profit Share, I had no capabilities to do it. I had no idea how to do it. But because courage is not a fun place, we immediately go figure out, what do I got to do to get out of this awful place from courage and get to confidence? And it's go get the capabilities. And so you go out and get the capabilities, and then you get to go to this warm, cozy place called confidence. But here's the thing, you don't want to stay there. You want to go find another big commitment that scares the heck out of you again. And most of us go to what I call a fifth C, which is complacency. And we don't like to get out of that comfort place that we're at. But the more times you can go find these big commitments and make them, the bigger your life is going to be. And so I love to always share this, because, making a commitment to create a certain amount of wealth it's going to take courage. It's not going to be without courage. And so I think you should teach this to your kids. I think you should teach this to everybody, that you want to go find big commitments. You don't want to shy away from those. And the more successful you get, the more you're going to want to stay in that fifth C called complacency. And that's even more reason why you should go find another big, scary commitment. And this is kind of just our little profit share course modules. For those of you that are interested, you can kind of just see what's in it. We do have a whole section on the new agent piece. Press teaches that. I teach the existing part, but we go through and then once a month we do a monthly call. And thank you for sharing, those of you that are already telling me you're in the course. But we get on calls with you. We answer questions. We keep you moving along and keep it top of mind so that we can get some results. Because I always like to say, your kids are going to grow up someday and they're going to understand that there was a profit share program, and they're going to be really ticked that you didn't take advantage of it because it's willable to your heirs. And then I'd love all of you, at the very least, to listen to our podcast. We have a Profit Share Mastery podcast. We're going to be doing interviewing. And if you know someone that you'd think we should interview for that podcast that makes profit share, I'd love to have their story on the podcast. But guess what day it drops? It drops on the 21st, same day as your profit share checks. So that comes out once a month. So if you get a chance, listen to that podcast. We'd love to have you share that with any Keller Williams people that you can also, so that we can spread the message about it. What I'd like to do now, I want to give you the freedom number, this number that you see here, the 33444. If you text McKissack to that number, it's going to give you more information about our profit share online course, the one that you take, and then you jump on monthly calls with us. But it also, if you take that 33444 and you type in the words freedom number together as one word, we're going to give you a freedom number worksheet. And I encourage you, if you do nothing else from this call, go home with somebody you really love and care about, your significant other, and sit down and you guys come up with what is the freedom number that we're after, because I don't think until we do that, we're going to see all the opportunities that are out there to actually reach that freedom number. And so I think it kind of opens the gateway to those opportunities to present themselves to you. So text 33444, the word freedom number together as if it was one word, or text McKissack if you want to hear more about the profit share program. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And what I'd love to have now is questions, comments, thoughts, ahas, specifically questions, because I find if you get a question, you need it answered before you can move, or at least I'm that way. And I love your, Sarah, thank you for sharing that how KW has changed your life, as it's taught me to focus truly on what matters. I love that. And so again, if your life's been changed, I would venture to ask you, why is that enough lives changed? Why do we stop? My mother, Mandy said, my mother convinced me to join to help provide income for my family. Thank you, Mom. Moms know best. I've been in real estate 31 years and have learned more at KW in my past 4.5 years than the combined 31. Thank you, Andrew. So do you think there's probably other people? My assistant just told me recently, she came from Caldwell Banker up in the Northwest. And she said, I feel like I was duped about Keller Williams. And she said, it really makes me angry that I was duped about Keller Williams, because Cole Banker told lies about what Keller Williams was all about. And she said, so now I come here and I work with you, and I'm like really mad that I didn't know about Keller Williams. So what questions do we want to, Heather, do we want to open it up and let them ask specific questions? I'd love to answer. I would either buy investment properties, or I'd build my profit share, and here's why I can't, or here's why I won't, or here's what my limiting beliefs are, or here's the question I have so that I will get started and do that.
Yeah, if you're able, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Everybody is muted, so you can ask her directly, or if you want to put it in the chat box, and we can read it from there as well.
Yep, either one works.
I'll shoot a question out here real quick. I'm wondering how in today's market, how buying a rental, how that you feel is affecting your bottom line.
Got it. Yeah, well, we've actually still bought rentals. And we wrote the book Hold, by the way, the yellow book, How to Find, Buy, and Rent Houses to Build Wealth. And I think we specifically say this in the book too, but I always like to mention it to people. No matter what's going on in the economy, there's always the D's: drugs, divorce, death, and distress. And all of those things cause people to sell their house under market, right? And so you're going to find those in every market. And so, no, we're not buying as many as we did in 08 or 09, but we're still buying quite a few houses. And you just got to know that those situations are always there, no matter what's going on in the marketplace. And
Thank
then
you.
you run numbers, and the numbers either work or they don't. And what we are finding in this market is we are flipping a little bit more. Our strategies hold, obviously, hence the book hold, but we do flip some, and they have to follow our formula for us to hold them. So we just may flip a few more, but they're still there. Yeah. So
Thank you.
yeah.
So we have a question from George in the chat box. Is there a formula for how to reach $1 million in profit share?
Well, I can tell you the performer that I got. And here's the thing, it wasn't exactly accurate, but I don't think it really matters. Again, I think the plan and the numbers just kind of get you going in the right direction. But the guy told me to get 20 people, help 20 get 20 and get 5,000 total. Because the economy crashed somewhere in there, those numbers didn't come out exactly right, but by that point it didn't matter. So I would just say you're never going to have an exact number because you never know what your people are going to do, right? And most of the money actually comes at the 6th and 7th level. And so you don't know how that's going to, it takes a life of its own. So I always say just only focus on the part you can focus on, which is front line, and build it as wide as you possibly can. Don't even stop at 20, right? Even though the number says 20 for the performer, I didn't stop at 20. So just build it as wide as you possibly can, and it'll go deep by itself. That's what I would say. I hope that helped.
Chad asked, can you talk about the leverage you have in your life to manage all of your endeavors?
Actually, to be honest with you, we're pretty lean on leverage. I just discovered this last year that I think we were too lean on leverage. So I did get leverage very quickly in my real estate business because I had to do a large number of transactions because my average sales price was so low, and I'm terrible at any kind of paperwork. So, and I went to a seminar and heard the idea that you get an assistant, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to afford this person, but I'm getting one. So I hired a part-time assistant. Well, I hired and shared them with somebody in the beginning. That was a disaster because we didn't allocate times. But then I hired my own part-time assistant. She was a college student, and I got to taste what it was like to have leverage, and I've just never not had it since. So I built honestly, the MREA book was built after teams like mine, because we were actually we were at level 5 when we met Gary, and that's how he began to notice the trends and the levels. And so I already had a listing coordinator, a closing coordinator, buyer's agents, a runner, all those kind of things. And I just built my team like that, just like the MREA book says. And then we started having multiple businesses. So I hired one of my past, I always call her my seller from Hades because I hated this woman. She drove me nuts, but she was she's a great counting person, and she's been with us like 19 years. But she became like our CFO type person that did all of our bookkeeping. And now we have a person that oversees that manages our vacation rentals. She has a couple of people that work under her for stuff. We have a girl that manages all of our 89 or 80 something single family homes. And we have 2 accounting people now instead of just the one. I have a project person that works with me that's helping me write the online profit share course, the listing online course that we're finishing up. And then right after that, we'll do a wealth building through investing. And then after that, we'll do a vacation rental, and she's my project manager. And then each of our market centers have the normal team in it, but that's really pretty lean for all the businesses and the things that we do, to be honest with you. We are hiring a marketing person this year, full-time, just for us, that'll do all of our online marketing, our vacation rental homes marketing, all that kind of social media, online courses, promoting those. And we are looking for that person right now. So we are going to stretch out a little bit more. And then after that one, I'll hire a full-time just executive assistant that does all the, that loves to like serve and do my returns and get my doctor's appointments and my hair and all that stuff that, that really is not not something my project person loves to do, but she'll get it done for me until we get the right person. So that's kind of how we are leveraged. But I do believe in leverage. I love leverage. And I've taken my leverage to a new level this year where I'm actually having fun putting my skills with other people's unique ability. I call it collaborating. And I feel like I'm reaching a whole new level of possibilities, because if you can get someone in their unique ability and they get to do just the things that they are amazing at and shine at, and then you put them with your unique abilities, amazing things happen. Proof of that is my profit share course. I had the information on how to do profit share for years, but it took my son's skills to come in and recognize, and his skills together with us to create a beautiful, amazing course that we get to travel with other people who want to build their profit share. And now Sarah's helping me with this new listing course, and her skills are amazing. So I'm kind of taking leverage to a whole new level, and I'm loving it. Hope that answers your question.
All right, another one in the chat. Do you own any commercial real estate investment properties?
Yes, we do. But the commercial buildings we own all have one of our businesses in them, like Keller Williams offices. We have one 40,000 square foot building in Dayton, Ohio that houses our Keller Williams Market Center that we are partner in, and it also houses the regional team, and it has some other tenants. But almost all of our commercial buildings have a Keller Williams that we own in it, that we own at least a piece of.
Wonderful. Any other questions? I know we have, I see a lot of new agents to the business and to Keller Williams. Do you guys have any questions?
What a great time for you to hear all this. Let's just get going immediately on wealth building. Let's don't even wait. Let's don't even wait till we sell our first house. Let's go find a partner that's got money and do it with them.
Any ahas? Any takeaways?
Yeah, what jumped out at you today?
Don't be shy. We are not a shy group.
So I think the biggest thing for me is, and Linda, I've been in your course here for the last, I think 6 months or so. And, it's good to see, at the level of achievement that you and Jim have had, that it's okay to see that it's messy along the way also. And it's, it doesn't go straight, right? It goes forward and backward. And so that's refreshing to see that. And, just the fact that you're pouring back into all of us as well too. It's just want to thank you for that.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. It's truly my pleasure. I love it. It's energizing and motivating, and that's what we have to do. Part of our journey is to figure out what are our gifts that God gave us that we can be energized and motivated by helping other people do it too, and so to me, I just feel blessed to be able to do the things and to learn quickly, what energizes me and motivates me, and how do I do more of that and less of the stuff that annoys me, right?
Love that. Let's hear 2 more ahas. And then I think we can wrap up a little early here. What do you have for us, friends?
Sarah says, I'm having an important conversation with my husband immediately. Well, remember, even our husbands, Sarah, don't do what we tell them. They do what they self-discover. So maybe we should just share the recording with him first or something, because even our spouses and our kids don't do what we tell them. They only do what they self-discover. So that lesson will work for lots of stuff. The only way I listened to my husband about real estate is because I was overwhelmed and didn't know what else to do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have listened. I just do what I think I should do.
This is Michael Province. I like the whole idea of that in your darkest hour, you always find a way to dig out. When you're like 600,000 in debt, the economy's in tatters, you somehow find a way to build this amazing business and life and multiple companies. And I love hearing stories like that. It's just really kind of inspiring, and big congrats on working so hard and building this amazing thing you guys have done down there.
Well, thank you, Michael. And I don't want anybody to, I always like to say we walk around and we compare our insides to other people's outsides. And what I truly hope you see is it was messy. Just like Chad said, it was messy. And it was not always a good attitude. I didn't, when my husband came home and said, we're $600,000 in debt, I wasn't very, I always say it's never a marriage enriching time when, when you have no money and you've got to, downsize the cars you drive and you're scared and you don't know where, how you're going to get out of this mess. But, I'm just thankful that we made it. We've been married 39 years and I'm just thankful that we made it through it. But the truth is it is messy along the way. And so I don't want anybody to see the end project and think, well, that's different. My insides have these limiting thoughts and these other things, because so does mine. Right. And so the difference is you make those commitments and you do it, even though it takes courage, even with the wet pants, right? You keep doing it even with the wet pants. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. I always love to hear that myself. It inspires me.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other? How do you routinely manage your 24 hours?
Yeah. Over time, I think the best thing that's helped me manage my 24 is to really ask myself on a regular basis, what is annoying? What is just okay? And what is energizing and motivating? Because I keep a little card on my desk that says, when you do something you're good at, you cheat someone from doing something they're great at. And I think we get in a bad place when we start using the word delegate, because delegate sounds like I give somebody who's lesser than me something that I'm better at. And really what we should really do is I'm giving stuff away to people that are better at it than I'm at it. Right. And it's not my highest and best use. And so I think even my personal stuff, I don't do anything, I'm very clear that, and learned from early time. I always say God gave all the domestic abilities to my older sister. So now my sister actually works for me and she packs my bags and she just picks up my house, have a housekeeper, but she gets joy from that. I used to feel bad and I'm thinking, but wait a minute, this is the gifts that she was given and she loves it. And so I'm giving her a gift by doing that because it's what she does. So, I don't know how she does it so well. I cannot get all that stuff to go in a suitcase like she can. And it's beautifully packed for like 10 minutes until I get somewhere. And it's so funny because when I was growing up, she was more like a mother figure to me. And we fought more over the way I made a bed. I swear it was some of our biggest fights because she's very meticulous and she likes things perfect and you should make your bed. And I'm like, we're getting right back in it. Why should I do that? And so I really think that the people that I worry about the most are the people that actually are good at a lot of different things, because I think you hold on to them more. But I'm very clear. Number one, I'm not good at domestic stuff. I'm not a good cook. Thank God my husband can cook. I don't like cleaning. I don't like any of those things. But guess what? When I would get home after working so many hours in real estate, that's not the highest, best use of my time. The highest, best use of my time is to spend whatever time I have with my family. And so I just learned really quick to be real clear about what are the things that are most important with my time. And I can either fill it with other stuff for whatever reason, or I can figure out who's good at that, let them do it and let them get the glory and do what they do so well and be so appreciative that they're good at, and that's their gifts and they're good at that. And I can go do the stuff that I was given gifts for. And I think the faster we figure those things out, we have a motto around our house. There's no job too small to subcontract. We just do it. We just, our first goal is to make enough money to give away something we don't like doing. And so I think having that mindset has really allowed me to do more with my 24 and do only the stuff that is energizing and motivating. I don't keep anything in my life, a person, a thing, or anything in my life that's annoying and just okay for very long, because it's just, life's too short and the day's too short. So that's how I do it. And I've done that from very beginning, even when I really didn't have the money to give the jobs away. I did it and figured out how to just work a little harder so that that money would be there.
Wonderful. Any other questions or ahas that you would like to share? Wonderful. Well, I think I can speak for everybody here that this has been incredibly inspiring and motivating. Thank you so much for your time and all the value you poured into us. We greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Listen to the podcast. Give me your messages of how the formula is working for you in your business or in your wealth building. I love to hear success stories. So please share them. And again, go do something. Don't make a commitment that scares the crap out of you today. Make today the day you make a big commitment. Thank you guys.
So much.
Have a
Thanks,
wonderful
guys.
day.
Have a great day.
My pleasure. Be blessed.
Thank you.